Yes, this is for Mr. Upaal and the Liberal candidate. Mr. Upaal, your party is talking about 65 new aircraft, and why do you think we need so many? If they're such a great airplane, why wouldn't half the amount be okay? Say 15 in Eastern Canada and 15 on the Western side. Thank you.
Tim.
Great, thank you, and thank you for the question. There is quite a bit of discussion and I'll call it controversy over the purchase of the new F-35s that the government has committed to. Just some background: there was a competitive process that was followed, and that competitive process was followed under the Liberal government, because these things take time. It takes years to get these processes done. The advice of why we need it came from the military. We are politicians. We don't necessarily know what is needed and what kind of planes we need, but the military does. And they said that the F-18s are almost obsolete. We cannot use them anymore. We need to purchase some new F-35s, and that's the plane that, if that's what the military has asked for, that is what we will provide them. We got a pretty good deal. I know we're paying less than other countries. For some reason, that's a problem to people, that other countries may be paying more for these, but we seem to have a pretty good deal with them. We are purchasing them and doing all the maintenance contract in Canada, so that will create new jobs in the aerospace industry, and we're actually not paying for them out of this budget or the next budget. It's actually being paid for in the next number of years, so the cost of this is being deferred. This is a win-win for Canadians, but definitely for the military. If we expect them to take on the missions that we ask them to do, we have to give them the best equipment possible. This is the equipment they asked for, and that's the equipment that the Harper government is going to deliver to them.
Rick?
The Liberal Party will do a complete review of our military's needs. So I don't have an answer to your direct question right away, but we will do a complete review and see what the military's priorities were, not by just kind of asking a couple people in the military. Certainly the veterans I've talked to in Fort Saskatchewan are it's a small sample, but they have said fighter jets would not be at the top of their list for new military equipment. But if we do go with fighter jets, we have a report from the independent parliamentary budget officer that says that you can get planes just as good for half the price if you put out an open bid saying this is what we need in a fighter plane, and you go internationally. He consulted with international experts to come to that result. We have a parliamentary budget officer that reports to Parliament, not to any one party, to keep an eye on the government and to allow Parliament to make intelligent decisions about whether the government is spending our money best. When that independent expert that we've put in place for a reason comes back and says they're spending twice as much money to get the same thing as we could get otherwise with a competitive bid, all Canadians should stand up and say, well, why on earth aren't we doing that? Okay, there is no reason not to put out an open bid for these planes and to see what people can bring forward. Okay, then there is a second problem. One of the reasons we're having this election is because Parliament kept asking the Conservatives to come clean on how much these jets were going to cost and kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed. The Speaker of Parliament had to order our government to answer questions. That shouldn't have to happen. And then that all led towards the contempt of Parliament finding, which is unprecedented in Canada. And now we have, and I got to say, I'm shocked. If Tim Upaal really believes that these airplane companies are going to sell the planes to us for $75 million, but are going to sell them to Norway $140 billion, that's just incredible. That's just, does anyone else out there think that that's a possibility? What we have from independent experts is that the price that the Conservatives keep quoting on these planes doesn't include the engines or the guns. Now I don't know, you might, now for a Stephen Harper photo op, we don't need the engines or the guns, but if we're actually going to, fly them, then we might actually need engines, and if we're going to actually use them as fighters, then we might actually need the guns, and apparently that costs, another $75 billion. If you went to a car lot and they quoted you a price for a car, and then after said, oh yeah, and the engine will cost you another $30,000, what would you think? Okay. Thank you very much.
Hi. As a recent university graduate, I was actually